Hey, hey, welcome to another episode. I am Dagny.
I'm Molly.
And in this episode, we want to discuss and reflect with you, going down a bit of a psychologically industry chapter dynamics.
Yes.
And we want to talk about triggers. Trigger, Trigger. We want to talk about one, how much trigger has been used and whether it's being used properly when it comes to the word and experience. We want to share with you our own experiences and evolutions when it comes to understanding what triggers are and how in our own lives we've responded to them or even have learned how to manage them, identify them, or even be supportive to others when they come up. And take note of what triggers can say or reveal to you when they do come up, as it is not something to run away from or not something to dismiss or mock, but actually is a really beautiful tool or instrument, if I could say this, that can reveal a lot or answer quite a number of questions about yourself. So that's where we're going in this episode. All right. So to start, I'm going to throw it to you, Damali. When it comes to triggers, wait, first, should I give the dictionary definition of triggers before we start, just that we're all on the same page?
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Please.
All right. So according to Cambridge Dictionary, this is not a favorite. It's just this is a dictionary that came up. Okay. All right. Now, the trigger word when it comes to psychology, the official definition is something that causes someone to feel upset and frightened because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past. Or apparently an informal version of the same definition, to cause a strong emotional reaction of fear, shock, anger, or worry in someone, especially because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past. So there is our official definition. So we're all on the same page of what we are discussing. Now, Damali, yes, please go ahead and share with us when it comes to triggers. How has your experience been discovering them and learning about them?
Okay, first, thank you. I'll catch that. First, I guess first I'll start with like what the thoughts that came into for the making this podcast episode. I mean, obviously everyone has triggers and things that bother them or get under their skin. But I think it was either on Instagram reel or like I think it was Reddit, one of those where someone was talking about how why is it that like you can be so healed when you like leave a space, like let's say like your family, right? And you're out in the world, you are fine, you're healed, you're doing your stuff, you're able to handle your stuff, you're not too bothered, you're zen, you're fine. And then you come back home and all of a sudden everything irritates you, like everything's annoying, it's so easy for there's so many minefields, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, right? There's so many topics that bother you and things like that. And so it made me think like that's true, like why is it that you're calm as a cucumber, right, doing your, and then you come back and you're meeting with old people and all of a sudden you have an issue. And it made me think about, well, how do we deal with that? Like how can I not, because triggers from are normally not new, right? They're like connected to things that maybe happened in your childhood or something that's like a recurring thing. And it's like this, like, it's like a stick that's just like stuck in your side that just is always there. You kind of not really look at it, but then when something pokes at it or someone or unintentionally pokes at it, it can be painful. And I was wondering how do we deal with these? How do you heal these issues? Because I feel like a lot of people want to go through life in a more like healed way. And so things don't, bother you that much. And you can kind of be like, oh, I'm mature and healed. And I figured out how to deal with this thing that, my brother keeps saying, or my mother or my dad, things like that. I think for me, I mean, obviously I won't mention my specific triggers because, obviously everyone has theirs. But for me, yeah, I do have that moment where I'll be okay. And then like, I'll come home and and then like someone says something, I'm just like, oh my God, like, and I'm just like, why am I so bothered by certain things? And I think this theme that we always say of being present, I think is is useful, I think. And I think looking at the trigger and seeing like what it is and being like, why do I feel this way? Right? Because sometimes it's not so much what the person is saying I mean, sometimes it is. They do it on purpose. For some families, obviously, people can relate to this, but other times, like it's not what they're saying or even who is saying. It's just that it connects to something you don't like that happened before, and so it makes you feel uncomfortable or mad or angry. But it's like, why do you feel angry, and how can we view this trigger in a more healthy way? Or how can we be like, I don't like this, this hurts, but I'm looking at it to see what is the connection of it, right? And why does it bother me? And I think if we can try doing that, I think it could be useful. And I also agree with you where the whole triggered thing um, is, I know the word can be kind of overused, right? We hear it a lot in social media and things. People, oh, I'm triggered by this, I'm triggered by that, and then we have two sides. Like on one side, you have someone being like, oh my God, I'm triggered by everything. I'm gonna jump off a building. Like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna every single day, oh my God, I have like, I just have so much thing I'm triggered by. I can't even, right? And then you have the other side where they're like, those don't exist. And you millennials, like, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? Y'all are soft, you're snowflakes, pick up your pants, like, this stuff. Like, why do you even talk about your emotions? I'm like, because I have them. Like, mean, like, why are you looking at that? Stop it. But I think also is because maybe older generations like didn't do that like we did. So it's a little uncomfortable for them. Even like therapy and mental health. So I don't know how many years therapy has been like a thing in the context of now. Like, so I think years ago, like if you needed therapy, they just thought, well, for women, they're like, oh, you're a witch. Like, I don't know, or like you're some
Yeah.
magical creature. That's why, or like you're sick or something. Like, I don't know. I don't know if anyone has read or knows I don't know. I've forgotten who it's by. I think it's called The Yellow Wallpaper. And I don't know if, people can look this up if they want to, but uh, this story, if I can like look up the story real quick so I can get you the name. It's a short story, and I think it's by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Yeah, Charlotte, and it's called The Yellow Wallpaper. And she goes through some things in the, if you've read it or not, if I don't want to spoil unless you want to read it, but it's called The Yellow Wallpaper. And basically in the story, it's like, if she was having, it looks like she was having mental issues, but they were just like, oh, she's sick, so back then, I don't even know if like therapy was a thing. So I don't know how, I mean, we have to do more research, but I don't know if this therapy thing is like relatively new kind of thing. I don't know if it was a thing in the 1700s, 1800s. Um, it was always kind of a focus on physical stuff, like physical ailments, not mental ailments. Or they'll do like, I don't know, like lobotomies. I don't know, all that stuff. Let's not get into science. I don't know that much about, but I feel like that also is part of it and then with social media, it kind of, everything's like heightened, right? So it's like, the world is ending. It's like, actually, no, it's not. It's just moving, like, so yeah, so for this one, it's kind of figuring out like how to get to that point, I guess, because I still haven't fully figured out how to deal with my triggers. I've gotten better, become more aware of them, try not to go off the handle too much or get like too angry about stuff or too annoyed, but it still gets like certain things do get under my skin, which I think for everyone has things that do that. And I'm like, why does it get under my skin? This thing that bothers me has bothered me for so many years. Like it's not new. So what's the big deal, And well, Mel, I guess before I go into like our parents and things like that, would you like to add anything, Dagny, about your own triggers before we delve deeper into
Sure. I think that to piggyback off what you were saying,
back?
I wanted to note that it's a good point that you made about the rhetoric behind psychiatry and triggers and mental health that we now have through social media and basically the internet in general.
Mhm.
And I feel that, at least in my opinion, I feel the notion that being healed means you're always levitating in some Zen floating mode where nothing bothers you, almost as if you're always high on something. I feel that is not an accurate illustration of what healed is supposed to be. Because healed is not, there's something that you said, healed is not a destination. It's wait, what did you say again?
No, what I said was that healing doesn't mean perfection. You're not supposed to be, oh, I'm so perfect at healing, I don't have an issue with healing. Like
Yes.
what did I say? I think I said healing is a journey, not a destination.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
And so when the idea that when you're completely solitude individual by yourself, everything's fine. But then the moment you step outside and interact with a human, all these things go all over the place. What's the problem with all these other humans? And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of the teaching and rhetoric behind mental health, which a lot of it, sorry, not sorry, a lot of it is Western focused. A lot of it is one particular demographic pushing all the research, pushing all the reports, pushing all the surveys, pushing all the definitions. There is a real huge gap when it comes to how do you understand that your healing actually is supposed to be in community. It's supposed to be with other people. You're supposed to be able to handle being peacefully accountable or to be respectfully accommodating, where being inconvenienced should not be a trigger that causes all these outbursts. It should be like, actually, it's normal if someone brings up this thing or brings up that thing, but everyone should be meeting each other halfway of understanding of when I use this tone with you, how does that come across? If you use this tone with me, how does that happen? Can we work together so that we always remember this is the tone that works for both of us? These are the types of words that work for both of us. Okay, this particular topic right now is a little uncomfortable. Can we talk about it another time? But I promise I'm working on it. Thank you so much for asking. This sort of thing, communication is supposed to be dealing with that. But that also requires everybody on the same page of, do we hold that as the priority to our healing? So for me, I feel like, yes, it's true that some of us who maybe we are further along our healing journey, some people from the outside looking in is like, oh my, you're always so calm. You just seem like everything, you just feel peaceful, like your presence, it just feels peaceful. Yes. Because some people have even told me this and I'm like, okay, thank you. I appreciate, I'm not sure if I ever felt chaotic. Like, did my presence feel chaotic before and now it feels peaceful? I'm not sure. But I think, or at least for me, I would like to note that for me, it's possible that it's not that because I'm levitating all the time or I'm tuning out Zen-wise everything. I think it's actually because I'm even more sensitive to everything. And so has built the muscle to be able to accommodate my sensitivities for myself and always giving everybody else the benefit of the doubt of like, I can see, even though the face of it, maybe the approach or the interaction or the tone doesn't really work for me, but I make a priority of like, but I see what your heart was trying to articulate. And depending on whether you're a complete stranger or someone very close to me, I can take the time to still respond and then let you know, actually, next time, could we try it like this? Because I understand where you were coming from. But when we approach it this way, do you see how longer it takes for us to get out of the energy you brought in here until we can move to an energy we can actually have a conversation or actually build more of a bond? Compared to a complete stranger where I'm like, I mean, if you're going to be showing up, approaching, playing games, I didn't come to play games. So we're just going to not play any games. But okay. Right? But we can still say this respectfully, but still unapologetically. So for me, I feel triggers is like, it's part of the bigger picture or the bigger masterpiece of you. And I always, it does irk me when there's a large portion of so-called mental health advocates that the algorithm pushes. I'm sure there's others who are saying the correct thing, but the systems of the internet are pushing the mental health advocates who insist that you need to cut off everybody and go in your corner and you don't need anybody else because everybody else is chipping away from your healing. And it's like, nah, actually everybody else is trying to, their interactions are helping you to enable your healing to go even more in depth, because your healing is a gift to other people. It's not something that you just, what's the word? Hoard, I guess is the right word. Mm-hmm. Hoard for yourself. Like
don't be in solitary confinement.
Yes, exactly. Healing. Yeah. So I think the intention behind healing, the algorithm pushes it to be like, it's also for you by yourself can be apparently happy all by yourself, isolated in the middle of nowhere. When actually the intention of healing is that so it's a gift you can share with other people. The fact that if my presence feels peaceful, that's a gift to other people because when they're around me, for whatever reason, now they're breathing. I don't know why they weren't breathing before, but now they're breathing when they're around me. That's a gift that regardless of how short of a time, if they were just passing by, for some reason they feel lighter. That's a gift I'm giving through the work I've already done with myself. Right. So to me, this is, and we'll talk more about this within the episode because there's different phases of this journey. At the very depending on where you start, it might be too far away to think of it as this is a gift I should give to other people because your triggers feel so debilitating as well. So triggers are not something to, like you noted, is not something to mock or pretend. Where'd you guys get making up words, making up diseases? It's not a disease. It's not a disorder. It's literally why do certain emotions have somewhat of an outburst happening when certain things happen? You hear something, you experience something. What is the connection with that? And can you hold yourself accountable or take responsibility of how to learn from those triggers?
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And I think it's funny that we have people that like are like, oh, they just made up the trigger word. Why are people trigger? It's so I don't understand why, like we just deal with stuff. And I'm like, but everyone has it though. Like everyone has things that come up about their past, regardless of how you react to it. Everyone has things they don't like talking about, or they get really like defensive. Someone's defensive about certain things. And everyone has to deal with that. And I also think like with triggers, I think sometimes it's a value system thing. I think sometimes like, I mean, I can just talk about like maybe like parents and their kids and stuff. And like, sometimes sure everyone can relate to this, or sometimes your parents feel a certain type of way about you, or they say certain things about you that you don't agree with, especially if you like from a child, maybe it's fine. But as you get older, you're kind of butting heads a bit because technically like if the kid is now not, if you're an adult and then you have parents, obviously like you're both adults, but at a different, like your parents are like adultier adults and you're an adult, you know what I mean? But like sometimes like, certain things even like parents say where you're like, that's not really what's going on here. Like, I don't see, and even if you talk to them about it, we don't really get each other. And I remember when I was younger, I'd be like, what is, like, why you keep on fighting? Like, I don't understand why you don't get what I mean. I don't get it. Like, it's simple to me. Why don't you get it? Or we don't get each other. And but then as I've gotten older, I realized, well, everyone has a different value system though. Like everyone has a different way they grew up and the way they think that things are. And so it's almost like, for example, mixing of like a metaphor of like, if I think the sky is like blue, or I think the sky is green or something, and my parents think it's purple, it doesn't matter how many times we try to argue which color it is. If I'm seeing something different from what you're seeing, then like it doesn't matter, right? Because that's how you grew up, and that's the way you did stuff. Or like if the parent, when they were your age, they were doing something different from you. So sometimes they question what you're doing because they're like, I didn't go through that. So what is your deal? Like, why are you what is that? Kind of thing. And I think that's a big part of the trigger too, where some people think it's no big deal, but others do. And then there's kind of like a disconnect with that. And then also I think worth and value is a big deal, because if your worth or your value is tied to a certain behavior or things you say, regardless of how negative or positive it is, then it's hard to cut it out. Like sometimes like if my worth is connected to doing ... and you're like, why do you keep doing that negative thing, or why can't you stop doing that? But if that is what I think is worthy, it's almost like you think you're just questioning my behavior, but I think you're questioning my worth and you're questioning my value. And that's, and I think we that saying of like we do what we are kind of thing, or the way you do everything is how the way you do anything is the way you do like everything, where it's like whatever you think that you are is what you act like. If you think you're a cat, you act like a cat, right? If you think you're a dragon, act like a dragon, regardless of like, well, why are you doing dragon things when you're not a dragon? Well, I feel that way. So I think that's a big part of the trigger thing. And the more I get into it, I understand that it makes it easier. So when things do happen, and then also I think for the trigger thing, it's not, like I said, it's healing as a journey. It's not a destination. Like it's okay to get annoyed, I think. Like it's not like when someone says something about like your path that you don't really like, or they're like, well, why do you always do this thing? Or you always used to do that when you don't like. I think it's okay to have some moments of, oh my gosh, like annoys or anger. Like, we have, it's the way it is. We have emotions, right? You're meant to feel them. But I think it's good for like, you can feel the annoyance, anger, and be like, whew, and take like a breath and be like, okay, why do I feel this way? Is there a safer or better way for me to react to this? Or do I need to react to it? I think that is important. Where I think I've forgotten what celebrity said, but it was like you don't have to participate in every argument. I think that's what I heard someone say, where just because there's an argument, you don't have to be right. You don't have to prove anything. Sometimes it's like if that's how they feel, okay. And then in your own mind quietly you understand what you're about. Or, after the situation happens, if when a quiet moment comes later, you can kind of decompress and deal with whatever was bothering you because you know what it's connected to. Because the mind plays tricks, and even if in your mind you're like, oh, there's no reason to be bothered by this thing that happened 50 years ago, it's fine, but your emotions might still be connected to it, and emotions just react. They're not, I don't, they don't, I mean, yes, I know well, I guess emotions are connected to your brain, but you know what I mean, right? Thinking and feeling are different, right? Even if they come from, similar places, I guess. Um, but yeah, and I think the big thing is, yeah, so worth and value are a lot of it has a lot to do with it. And even for what my like whatever I think my value is or my worth is. And sometimes when people say certain things, like they're questioning something I did, but sometimes I connect to my worth. Like I think a lot of people do that, where when someone is like upset with you or says something mean or whatever, you're automatically like, wait, so there's something wrong with me? Like you don't like, is it me? Like it's me, you know what I mean? Like, and if something questions your worth, people don't like, I don't like that. I don't think anyone likes that. Cause then I'm like, I, it, and I, yes, obviously people forget that you have worth regardless of what you do. Like your worth is not what you do. Like just the fact that you're made, you are worthy. Like some higher power created you. Why would they like you must be worth it? Why would they create you, right? But it's hard to wrap your head around that. Um, and also I think being present is a big part of it. Because I mean, if that helps, right, to keep you from going in a spiral in the past, I think. And yeah, and I think for me, I'm still figuring out the process of conflict resolution, like how to deal with triggers and what they mean. And because even like, I mean, I think it was last year where there was something really I'm not going to go into specifics, but something really painful happened to me like years ago. And I was like a teenager and it was really painful. And in school, and like at the time it really bothered me, and it really get connected to my worth and everything. And then like 10, 15 years later, I'm thinking about it and I was like, oh, and I thought of a new way of looking at what happened. Like I have a new objective thought of like, oh, that's what happened. That wasn't about me. Oh, okay. And even though in my mind I did that work, thinking about it does still have slight pain. Like not as much. The pain is dulled as years have gone by, but there's still some slight, I still, I don't know how I feel about that kind of thing. Which I guess, I mean, that no one's talking about, just me, myself, and I being triggered in my mind about something I thought about. And your mind helps you. I think time and sometimes things heal you. Sometimes painful things happen and you forget. And I don't know, it's weird how I don't know why our brain can't protect us from every painful thing. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. There's like some painful things that happen you completely forget. Like it's not even there anymore. Like you really, I don't remember at all. And then others are like, oh my God, it happened like it was yesterday. So I think the only way for us to know is if we can fully understand everything about our emotions and our minds 100%. And I don't think we have fully figured out what the brain is doing and why it does whatever the heck it does, right? Um, but I do think that, it's hard to think of I mean, we always like to present a solution, but I guess one solution is just think how it's a journey, and like take it for what it is. Like I think we can try, like, don't fight the current. I think that's the best metaphor to think, where if you feel something, feel it, but try not to let it like completely, cover you up, or like, and like Dagny, I've had a similar thing where I guess because for the most part, when I was younger, I've a pretty sunny disposition, I think, pretty smiley and all that stuff. So I have had things in the past where people are like, "Oh, you're always so happy all the time," or like, you don't, or they didn't think I had anxiety, or they don't think I get like embarrassed really, or they don't think that like, even though in my mind I'm like, I be freaking out like all the time, like, what am I doing? What is this? Where am I? You know what I mean? Just like freaking out, and small talk, I'm just like, oh, like freaking sweaty, like everyone else. But sometimes I guess because I like can be very like very like positive and like very kind of I guess I mean, I have one friend where I'm okay with like talking to people and saying hi and stuff, or at least I used to. I don't know. Depends how I feel. And so some of these people have this thought where like, oh, you know, you you don't have the type of issues that I have, or you don't have darkness, or you don't have that kind of thing. And which is fine. I mean, if it means you feel better being around me, okay, that's cool. Um, it's good, but I think it's it doesn't mean that you don't have triggers. Everyone has them, and everyone has ways they deal with it. And I think, as I said, being present, I think, is useful, and just focusing on what it is and what it means, and try not to be, don't be, I don't know how I can put it, like, I guess don't be like a slave to your triggers. I think that's the best way to put it, right? Like, don't be a slave to it. Don't let the trigger like pull you by the nose. Like, you pull the trigger. I think that's maybe, well, actually that works.
Careful now.
Careful, not that trigger, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But what I mean is that emotion, okay? Don't let the emotion drag you away. You be like, no, come here. Not to control it, just to be aware and be like, hey, let's work in tandem together. Let's figure this out. Why am I triggered? Why is this bothering? And yeah, and I think that's a big part of it. And then one part I'll add before Dagny goes is that I think often I think part of the reason why sometimes we're more triggered by things like in like with family or the people you grew up with, or where is because sometimes either you're very familiar with the family or you're very safe. And I think when you're in a safe space or you're very familiar, or like your family is you normally spent like a lot of your developmental and like formative years with them. So sometimes like I even read somewhere some of your family are the ones that put the triggers there. Like, they're the ones that put it there. That's why you feel that way. And if you're in a place where you can be very open with your emotions, anger is one of them, right? So if you can be very comfortable or familiar or safe or whatever with your family, of course they're going to trigger you more because you're very like, you're open. You're not, there's no guard up or barely any guard up. And you're just kind of like, yeah, just this is my family, just chilling. No matter how annoying or whatever, or awesome, whatever they are, you're used to, you get them, you're used to them, right? Especially if you live with them. So that's sometimes why it's so easy to get angry. Because I'm like, if a stranger said some of the things my family said, I'd be like, I don't I don't know you. I don't care what you say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, I don't know you. Why would I care what you think about me, right? But for people close to you, like sometimes they say like when people are really close to you, it's sometimes harder, I think, to uh deal with how you feel because you're open with them. So of course, I'm quick to be happy with you. I'm also quick to be angry because like, especially me a different way than others. So I feel some type of way about that. And yeah, it's obviously it's different with it's different with strangers versus people right? But yeah. So I think I'm still on that healing journey, still figuring out how to deal with the things that trigger me and why they do and go deeper into it. And so if things are said that make me think things or I'm triggered by something, I have a better way of handling it. But I don't know if that answers the question of dealing with it or not, but it's a healing journey, guys, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I think that's what yeah. Okay, Dagny.
Yes. And then
I've lost the plot. You can continue, please.
Okay, sure. Then to go into what do your triggers reflect back to you and what you can learn from them. I think I would add, even though we said the definition, I feel the emotions that come up, it doesn't necessarily always have to be traumatic. But as Damali noted, it's like something that's a big deal for you might be different for somebody else. That doesn't make it any less of a big deal. So if you want to use the word traumatic, that's fine. If you feel like actually that might be a little overkill, that's fine too. But it comes up to me, I notice like your emotions come up as in almost needing to put your guard up, basically, is where the trigger is coming in. I would share that because it's something that came up, actually came up recently, even like a previous episode where I shared that I planned things 5,000 years in advance. I'm quite an intense planner. And I am actually very gifted in maintaining or organizing structure, as in things would go smoothly if things just follow the structure. Yes. I have had to learn over time, though, that life doesn't want to be structured as much as you want to help organize it. Yes. And not all people work well in structure. Some of them find it restrictive. Some of them, just the way their lives are, things coming up just as the by works better for them. So for me, I have noticed, and I've still be working on, where when there's a plan set, and for me, and I don't even know if this is a divergent thing, but for me, if like for today, I've already made in my head, I'm planning to work on this, and in order to do that, I need to be in this location by this time, and then I can be back home by this time and do this. Then the day comes and other plans are being brought into the plan to change the time, change the place, change the agenda. Actually, I need to be dressed differently because there's something else I need to be going to, that kind of thing. I take note that for me, it is somewhat of a trigger for me where I then will maybe freeze a little bit and start asking more questions. And in my mind, I'm processing, trying to accommodate everything, which is not a good thing because it's like, I'm already set to do, I will just do all of it. Instead of saying like, actually, I had a plan. No, we're not doing that. I will go into the mode of like, okay, let's see how I'm going to, maybe I can move my thing earlier and move this thing over here. And then I'm also trying to manage, well, I have energy for all of this because I already had a plan and had already kind of calculated how much energy would be needed for this, that, the other. Now, depending on how, like you noted, how close or far the person who's bringing these plans are, will also determine if, will I fully express myself, noting that actually the reason why I'm responding this way is that the plans are kind of changing too fast for me. I'm open to accommodating, but it's causing me a bit of a like, there's a lag happening with my processing, and that my guard is going up now because I automatically want to just do it all because I know it will please the other person, but I know I shouldn't be doing that. But it's not that the new plan is a problem. It's just you're now changing plans. And that causes me a bit of a like, why are we changing all these plans? So my response then is I end up asking more questions of like, I want details of the plan that we're changing so I can get a sense of how to accommodate it. But to the other person, it may come across, which it has sometimes, of like, why are we asking all these questions? I just said we got to go to the left first before going to the right. Like, that's it, you know? And well, for me, I'm like, no, it's very particular about if we go to the left first or go to the left in the middle of the first. That's particular for me. Okay, the details, which we noted in a previous episode about how for some people, the details are so important. While for others, it's like, just go. I don't like these. They don't even know these details. They just knew we have to go to the left. So it's something that I've learned for myself to help reduce the amount of my guard going up when that happens. When I was younger, I reflected back and noted that my guard goes up when that happens because I feel like I'm losing control. I had already made the plan and now we're changing it or scattering it. So it feels like I'm being pulled from under my feet. Like I have no control over anything. And I feel like I'm being almost imposed upon, or people are insisting I need to do something. And like what I wanted to do is irrelevant or insignificant, because they're asking for a different plan. Then I noted, okay, back then, that is where that was coming from. For now, it's not so much about a loss of control. It's more of there's a gap in details because I can structure all these new things we're bringing because that's my gift with being able to structure stuff. But if I don't have the details, I'm like, it then feels like this is not efficient. And then when it's not efficient, my energy will start draining because we're not being efficient. So that is an example of a trigger that I've noted I've carried for a while and how it reflects back to me my gift that I'm good at by myself and with people to organize, to plan, to structure things, accommodate. We have a plan A through Z, all of that. But noting that's a trigger that always come up that I will stumble upon is that when plans have to change, my response to it has evolved over time. Where sometimes it would almost paralyze me that if the plans are changing, does that mean I should just stop? Like maybe that means I shouldn't touch it. While now I'm like, okay, I understand my responses. And depending on who I'm dealing with or where the plans are changing, I try my best to slow down and figure out, okay, how can I express that this is why this is a bother to me, or this is why this is a bit of a challenge for me. Can we go over the list again? Or can we do this again? Because I just really need this, that, the other. So that again, and that's also an example of the trigger technically is nobody else's responsibility. Those who care about me will take note of it and be like, oh, yes, Dagny, I remember. Actually, we're changing the plan. I'm sorry. And here are the details. Do you have any other questions? Right? Others who don't know me might take it as, oh my gosh, she's a control freak. I just said we have to go to the left. But you didn't bother to ask why it's a bother to me or why I'm responding in this way. So that's also an example to take note that when you are dealing with other people who are experiencing a trigger, it's not your place to feel like something's being projected onto you or it's imposing on you. If you do care about the person, it should be a space to try and understand. And then you can even also let them know that, okay, I understand this is why you were acting this way, but can I give you feedback on your response? Made me feel this other way. Like it changed the energy. You were sounding this or sounding that. So your response made it difficult for me to help you because I'm here to support you, but I didn't understand what you needed because you weren't articulating it in a way I could understand. That goes again with that interaction right there is a form of healing for the two people who are going through that, if they're on the same page in priorities with that interaction. So I feel like that's been my experience when I take note of triggers that reflect back to me. It's not so much about how you see in the movies where there's a loud noise and that triggers somebody to remember when they were at war or something. It doesn't have to be like at that level or even that violent. And I feel that every type of trigger is equally valid. It's how you respond to it, how you're learning from it, how you can take note of how you are evolving with it is what's more important than comparing one trigger to the other or comparing what is traumatic or what's not. I think also, as you noted, we're like, oh yeah, your body doesn't, the quote or the phrase of like your body keeps score or your heart keeps score. I don't know who's supposed to be keeping a score, but I do feel that those certain emotions come up for a reason, as in there's something that makes you feel like you're not safe. And it's possibly connected to something previously where either maybe you were not safe or you were made to feel like you're not safe. And that's the tricky thing that, again, internet psychology sometimes makes light of it. That's the tricky thing of when these triggers, if you can, for some of them, connect it back to you were a kid when you experienced that, having to understand that your kid logic is different from who you are right now if you're not a kid anymore. While your kid logic might have completely internalized the situation, because as a kid, you don't know any better. You thought everything was your fault or everything was about you. When as an adult, sometimes that I think that comes in with the idea of reparenting yourself. When you can tell your kid self now that like, okay, actually, that was not your fault. Or, okay, yes, that your imagination might have embellished what had happened at that time. And this is how we're going to deal with it moving forward when these types of emotions come up again. So there's different triggers can open up different branches of revealing things about yourself. And I feel like for me, it has made such a difference to bring that acceptance or so-called calm. It's not Zen, as in healing doesn't mean you don't scream or you don't get angry or you don't get upset or you don't call people out. You can still be healed and check somebody if you need to, right? But that also means you need to be checking yourself sometimes too. And for me, that is how triggers have almost been the window to reveal experiences that your mind puts away to like hide from you something that was uncomfortable. Triggers kind of are always reminding you, like, we put it away not to make it disappear. We put it away because we need you to deal with it at some point in time. And we feel maybe right now will be the time because you felt the trigger this time. At least that's how I have experienced that so far.
That makes sense. Yeah, like a warning bell. Just like, this is still a thing that bothers you and maybe you should deal with it. It also makes me think about like how many are there triggers I've had before if I don't have anymore? Which I suppose I do. There's some I can think that I used to be triggered by and I just kind of dealt with it and moved on, I suppose. And then also when you talked about like the organization stuff and structure, it made me think of, I don't know if this is a trigger, just like normally for me, like in the past, like when I would make plans to hang out with people, like normally like if I'm gonna hang out with you, I normally like I'll let you know and I'll try to like organize it. Like I'll be like, oh, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do. I'm always the one that's like, okay, should we hang out this time? Should we hang out? I'm always kind of like, and I used to kind of like do, and then when people would like, I've had issues with, it's not people, if people have different priorities, but like sometimes friends would like, they say they can hang out and then they can't. There's always like some, I don't know if everyone has a friend like that where like there's always some reason why they can't hang it. So, and some of it's always like a last minute thing, and you're just kind of like, okay, And I think before it would bother me more because normally when I tend to take people at I used to take people at their word. Like if you tell me you're going to do and hang out and whatever, and you say you're going to do that, and then you don't, I'm just like, okay, then why would you do it to me? And it kind of, and that has been an issue. And whereas nowadays I've grown to be a bit more flexible, so I relinquish some of my control. So I'm kind of like, for people that I know tend to cancel all the time, or there's always some reason why they can't hang out, I'm like, okay, then they need to be the driver more. So it's like letting them, like, you be the one, you tell me when you want to meet and we'll meet. Like that's kind of some, as I said, a couple of in the past different friends were sometimes like their plans are always changing. So I'd rather be like, instead of me, because sometimes like I know they don't mean it, but sometimes I used to get stressed out by that, and it would like bother me because I took a time to do something and I'm all ready to go, and then you're like, oh, sorry, I can't, and I'm just like, okay. So I suppose that's one where I've gotten better at, like, for some friends, I think I'll just be chill. I'll be like, hey, let me know when you want to do this, and hey, like, and I have my time ready and I have my stuff, and just be and so so now it used to be, it would bother me, whereas now I'm like, oh, that happened again. Oh well, I'm a bit more better at that. So I guess that would, and I don't think that was like a trigger so much because it wasn't a big deal, but just some kind of irritation sometimes, or annoyance that would, where I'm like, I'm expecting someone and they don't show up, and you're like, okay, you know. Um, and yeah, so that relinquishing, I think that being present, relinquishing some control there for certain things helps. That made me think of your organization thing you said, where it's like you kind of have to just let things, because sometimes people are not doing it intentionally. They just people have different priorities and different, like I said, again, value systems or things, but they do. And it's just, people are just different for me, because for me, normally I'll try, like if I really can't do, like I don't think I'm one to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna go out, and then like the day before, oh I can't, like I don't think I try to, like, if I'm not sure, I'll let you know I'm not 100% sure, kind of thing. And then I think with like sometimes of stuff that do trigger me, I have to go in my head and remind myself about things, like if someone or my parents say something and like it bugs me, I have to remember that they view a certain thing differently than me. Like sometimes people say stuff, but which they like, sometimes people say stuff about me and it's like not true. Like they think it's true, but like it's not. In my head, I'm like, that's actually not, you're not saying, but some things like sometimes I feel like there's no point sometimes of like some of them, like I don't feel like explaining myself, but you go ahead with what you think and I know what I think, I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to, like, you don't need to fully get what I'm doing, kind of thing. And that also, I guess, is a different, I don't know if that's another solution with certain triggers where it's like, I know what I got to do, so it doesn't really matter what you're saying, kind of thing. But I do agree that it's not a like kumbaya, like, oh, once you heal and you deal with your triggers, like nothing bothers you anymore. It's like, no, it's not that anything bothers you. It's just your reactions are the main thing. How you react to it, how you let it, like it shouldn't spoil your whole day, type of thing. It should just be like, that happened. Okay, maybe I should deal with that, or I'll deal with that later. Or you can let people know about it, depending on the person. Maybe they'll listen, maybe not. I don't know. But you can bring it up to people where, when you do this, I feel this way. Like I think, what was it? You made an example, Dagny, earlier, like, when you put like the ambulance siren on your phone, it makes me think that we're in danger and an ambulance is here. So stop doing that. Like, it's like,
Yes.
and yeah, you can let people know, like, when you say this or do this, it makes me feel this way, or it makes me think you don't trust me. It makes you think, and see if that's a way to deal with it. Or you can also silently deal with certain triggers on your own. And then when or small or big, and then you don't have to tell people, right? Because like the thing I said before about people not keeping plans, I didn't tell these people that you're part of the reason why I don't I don't go out on my way to organize things, because you're kind of flip-floppy kind of thing. But I just myself just decided this is how I'm going to deal with this. And what do you know? I'm less stressed out, which I think is the goal, right? To live life fluid and not as stressed out, and and things like that. And then just I kind of have to accept that people just think differently from me or do things differently, and everyone has their different priorities that they go by. And you have to try your best to not, get too bothered or not get too, because sometimes you can get, some people can get bitter about stuff because they think that why are people on purpose trying to get at me and mess with me and stuff? And sometimes it's not that, Um, but yeah, so it's definitely a learning curve, obviously. And I would like to think as I get older, I've gotten better at some trigger stuff. I mean, I would hopefully kind of thing, and hopefully as I get older, I'll figure out other ways to deal with it. And I hope you guys too would, and it'd be interesting, like if people want to share, like what are their triggers, or share like were there things that triggered you before but they don't anymore, and why is that? And like how did you try to adjust yourself to deal with things, kind of thing, and do like a balance. And I also, along with self-awareness of your trigger, I think also communication is good, not only with other people but in your own internal monologue of like, why is this happening? What does this mean? What is this really about? Is there a way to deal with this so I'm not like blowing off the handle, because like I think, I don't know if you've talked about this before, about like we're not, I don't know if we're really taught how to regulate our emotions, really. Like I don't think, I don't know if there's a class in school or your parents, because your parents probably don't know how to do that either, where this is how you regulate your emotions, as opposed to pretend you're okay or just feel your emotions and it's fine and just whatever happens happens. I'm like, regulation I think is key. If we know how to regulate and kind of work with our emotions so they don't make us into the Hulk, then I think we'll be okay. That's the main thing. Don't want to turn to the Hulk. I mean, sometimes there could be things in life where you have to be a Hulk, but it shouldn't be all the time. Like always a Hulk, because I don't know why you guys can't just give me back my chocolate. Like, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to focus on, and the real triggers, not the social media stuff or the weird stuff or the things people think are like they go overboard with them, or like they have an issue, or like people don't believe, like no, like the real stuff, that because everybody has things that gets under your skin and you're just like, what does that mean? What do we do about that? So yeah. So communication, self-awareness, being present, regulating your emotions, I think is important. And just, be, try to be more, chill about certain things. I feel like sometimes we get so fixated on things sometimes. We're like, oh my God, this has to be the way I need it to be. And maybe like you're okay. Like it's fine. Like it's just, like what's that? I don't know what's that saying. I don't know if it's like what saying was it? I don't know. It was like how like the birds don't do anything, like they don't fight anything, but they get everything they need, or something like that. Like trees too, they just kind of trees just do like tree things, and birds do bird things, and yet everything is provided, like everything that they need, like they're just vibing. Granted, birds don't have bladders. I don't know if that's part of why they just like,
Wow.
are
Okay.
light.
So thank you for extending
I
the
figured that
plot.
would be so,
Thank you.
not having a bladder like a bird, and if you could fly, that would really help.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh
So I
man,
did
I
like the
think I'm done.
questions you noted earlier for our wonderful audience. So to wrap that up, yes, we, as always, love hearing from you. And we hope this
Always.
episode did share some insight when it comes to triggers, or when it comes to, even if you've also had the experience of wanting to understand why certain emotions come up or certain patterns come up for you and certain responses happen as well. So we would love to hear from you, out of the questions Damali asked you earlier, as well as I would add, if you could reflect on what have your triggers taught you about yourself. If you feel comfortable to share, please comment on the episode, comment on the blog, find us on Instagram. You know the drill. Yes, we can continue the conversation. And until next time, we will catch you on the next episode.
Yes. Good luck with your triggers and your healing journey. Remember, it's a journey. It's not about perfection. It's not a destination. All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye. Take care.